as you guys can tell, I've got a lot of requests of people asking if I could share my Gshade preset. And I want you guys to know I'd absolutely love to share it with you guys, but I do want to add a disclaimer in here and let you guys know, on behalf of Square Enix, that Gshade is technically a third-party installation program. You should always err on the side of being responsible with these kinds of things, similarly to how people use ACT, for example, for like parsing and whatnot. It's kind of a thing that you don't want to really talk about too much out in the broader range of the game and in the community, but as long as it's for yourself and you're not really making it a talking point or a highlighting point, essentially nobody will care, permitting, you know, you're keeping to your own. I only say this because I feel it's my responsibility as a content creator to say something on behalf of Square Enix terms of service, Final Fantasy XIV, and everything else in between, just to make sure I'm doing my due diligence. I think for me, the big thing is that Gshade essentially makes it so you're not getting an exact representation of what the game is when you first install it. And unfortunately, console players like PS4 players don't really have access to anything that can actually enhance the graphics in a similar way. So I can kind of understand the position that Square Enix takes on these sorts of things. Again, I just would rather err on the side of caution when it comes to these things, and I will let you guys know to be doing the same, basically. Gpose and Gshade safely, my dudes! Also, to add on this disclaimer, you do kind of need a higher end PC or better parts, for example, to run a lot of the better Gshade presets, and just know that you are essentially sacrificing FPS to get a prettier game. So depending on your preference, you might, you know, only add a couple things in your Gshade, you might take away things, or you might, you know, tinker with sort of other things in there and see how that works with the overall graphic settings as well. So what exactly is Gshade? It's beauty, stability, compatibility, and essentially it can really enhance the graphical fidelity of Final Fantasy XIV. Essentially, it's a reiteration of the Reshade program that you can use across all sorts of other games as well. And because Reshade is open source, it makes it easy to iterate on, henceforth Gshade. Now the cool thing about Gshade is when you install it, you get a ton of fantastic presets, primarily for taking screenshots and whatnot, but there are gameplay presets that people set up to enhance their game experience. So if you're playing Final Fantasy XIV on PC, you can go ahead and hit that Windows download and get it started. You're going to want to ensure that it does install to your Square Enix Final Fantasy XIV folder, and then it goes directly into the game folder. As you can see, it's right here in the Gshade presets. You can kind of see it all here as well. So that's where you drop it, right in the folder. This is the folder you'll want to have Gshade put into. If you actually check out the Gshade presets, you can see that these are all the ones that are pre-installed that come packaged with Gshade by itself. Once you have it installed, you'll have a little something like this, which will allow for updates, installation, and you can check to make sure that everything is already there, and any other tools that you have to access as well. Support is also available, which is super handy. They have a Discord, they have a website, all that great stuff. So in case you are lost anywhere, you could definitely go in that direction. As for me, I am relatively new to Gshade as well. This is a kind of a new thing for me. And I actually made my preset based off of a preset that was already available called Yuki Gameplay. So once you have Gshade installed, you can actually enter it by hitting Shift F2. And if you're like me and you have a mini keyboard, just do FN Shift 2. I don't know if it'll be the same for you guys, but yeah, no, it might be. I don't know. F key, dude, F keys, who needs them? Not this guy, no. So as we look at it right now, I have Gshade entirely turned off, right? Once I hit Shift F2, it'll bring up the menu here, which I'm gonna actually move away my screen. And you can see the actual Gshade menu. Now, when you first open this up, it'll actually set you up with a brief tutorial and sort of guide you through the experience, saying like, here's all these menus, here's what this does, and here's what you can do with it, basically. And you kind of get an idea of how this all works, essentially. Now, if you want to start setting presets which are already installed, you just click through them and you can check out all sorts of different ones. So like, for example, Pinky Ethereal was like a crazy cool one for screenshots, like just really cool graphical experiences. Now, that being said, the primary experience of Gshade obviously is to make it so that you can take some really pretty G-pose pictures. That's what a lot of players will use it for. So this one, Pinky Ethereal, essentially is made for screenshots, and that's what it looks like whenever I can highlight different things and it'll put them in the depth of field and make them look all cool or whatever. So there's a lot of tinkering that you can do with that. So if I go here and say, for example, pick another preset, let's say, I don't know, Johnny Pop Art. Oh god, that's weird. Well, okay. Kinda cool though. Ooh, what about Johnny Vaporwave? Whoa! That's, again, that's kinda cool actually. I would never play the game like this, mind you, but I mean, you know, it's the idea that you can do it, of course, right? It's always the intent or ability to do it that makes it really cool. Oni Akuma True Real Life Realism is pretty cool too. I remember this one being cool. Yeah, that was a great one. That one's cool, and it's got a really nice depth of field and everything too. So this one for screenshots would be absolutely amazing, right? You're just enhancing the entire graphical fidelity of the game, essentially, right? And it has the depth of field, which is great. Now, my personal favorite than what I've been using is the Yuki Fairyland gameplay, but my own iteration of it essentially, with just a couple of the other things changed or tinkered with to make it actually more playable and also have a really cool depth of field to it. I want to add that like my objective with this preset, or my preset in general, was to make it so it kind of had that BDO vibe to it. You know, you've ever seen like graphical fidelity of like the BDO remaster, HD remaster or whatever it is? I was kind of going for that when I like saw this one, and I was like, oh, I could totally build off that as well. So this is the original Yuki Fairyland gameplay preset. It's already built into Gshade as is, and my iteration is just slightly different, so it enables the depth of field when I zoom in, and it snaps to it as well really fast, so that you can still play the game with a level of depth of field when you zoom into it and everything and inspect your character. So that's sort of my intent to going with that, was just doing a level of, I can still play like this and it still looks great. Now this is the daytime. When we hit nighttime, you don't see the same sort of bloom and everything, but I really like the idea of like walking down this white path, for example, and having that light reflect off of me onto the screen entirely, right? Like it feels like that would be realistic. Like, I don't know, when I go outside and like there's like blinding sidewalks or suns or whatever, it's like so bright out, it's like, ugh. So while that doesn't sound appealing, that was sort of the intent behind like what I was going for when I did this Gshade preset, right? I like the whole like idea of it being a level of realistic where the sun shafts and like the sunlight bounces off everything and makes it seem like it's real, in the sense that like it would make sense if I actually had gone outside, kind of thing, right? So to me, that seems relevant, right? But I know a lot of people obviously don't like it as well. I will also add that I'm using an HDR monitor right now, which definitely adds to the experience, because it looks a little blown out on like different screens, and I should probably fix that in some sort of way, or tinker it with it even further. But to me, it looks fantastic on my monitor. I like playing like this. HDR is on my monitor, and it doesn't look too crazy. But I have heard complaints about people saying that prior when they were watching me play on stream. Again, mind you, when I'm inside, when I'm doing stuff and whatnot, when I'm actually doing other sort of content that's away from being outside in the sunlight, the crazy, blinding sunlight, it's a little bit different, right? So, but I just love the way that the effects look and how everything else looks, and like what we can accomplish with this sort of setup and everything. It looks great to me. So I'm really happy with it. This is, again, my personal preferences. Everyone is going to have a personal preference when it comes to Gshade as well. And there's no end of things that you can customize or do within Gshade. All these options that you guys see here, again, I'm going to move my webcam. All these options you guys see on the left here are things that you can flip off, flip on, tinker with, turn off, power up, whatever you want to, and it'll entirely change the way that the game looks. Again, regarding my message in the beginning, there's very few moments that you'll find that you can actually get a tactical advantage with this kind of stuff, but I will always, again, say, if there's anything that gives you any level of tactical advantage in terms of Gshade in the game, that's when it gets a little bit dangerous. That's when you start talking about it or discussing it, you can get in trouble for using things like Gshade. But if you're just using it to enhance the graphical fidelity of the game and you want to make it just a better game in general, in my opinion, there should be no major problems. Again, it's better to just show and don't tell in this regard, but I want to share this experience with you guys. Again, it's something that a lot of people have asked about. It's something a lot of people wanted to apply to their own game or tinker with in the same sort of way, and again, I wanted to share it with you guys. So yeah, so here's just an example again of just like how beautiful Camp Bronzeley looks with this preset on. It's so nice. It looks so good, and it's kind of cool because like when I flip this off, right, when I flip it off, and should I go select the off preset, which is off, as you guys could assume, it definitely makes the difference, right? So here's what we're looking at when it's just regular game, and then when I pop this on, it just brings out the colors, it brings out the sort of mist, it brings out sort of the realistic sort of vibrancy to it. It enhances the colors and all this crazy stuff. It looks so good to me. I love the way it looks personally. Again, not everyone's going to like my own personal preset, but if you don't, well, guess what? You can make your own if you have the computer capability in doing so. And I think all in all, when using Gshade, all we really want, especially if you're using it for gameplay and stuff like that, is to enhance the Final Fantasy XIV experience, which in my opinion is already great. We can make it even better, even prettier, you know? And I love it. I really do. Gives it an extra little bit of flavor, you know? It looks so good, you know? I love it. It's so good. It's fun. It's great. So that being said, I will leave my preset down in the description. Again, feel free to download it, tinker it with it the same way that I did for someone else's preset in order to make it sort of cool for me and what I wanted. And credits to everyone that had developed those presets and Gshade in general. It's a fantastic add-on that I think is really great for the game, and it just makes it, again, look that much prettier. I will briefly add, too, that the Gshade preset will come in an ini file. What you'll have to do is, in your Gshade preset folder, just make a quick folder, I called mine Gobs, and add in the init file right there. So here's Goblin's Yuki gameplay. All you have to do is just drop it in a folder within the Gshade preset folder here. So something to take note of. So I hope that answers some of your guys' questions. I hope you guys enjoy my Gshade preset that I made based off the Yuki gameplay preset. And again, it's basically the same thing, which was like very minor differences. I'm not taking credit for the actual Gshade preset itself. I'm just saying that I did tinker with it a little bit to make it a little bit more custom to me, and that's exactly what you guys are getting in that file as well. If you guys have any questions or anything, please drop it down in the comments, let me know. I can do my absolute best to help you. There's a lot of fantastic resources for Gshade out there as well. I highly recommend just giving YouTube a browse as well if you're lost or anything, or if you want to find even cooler Gshade presets from other creators as well. Or if you're interested in like those like really crispy photography type Gshades just for Gpose and whatnot, it's fantastic, you know, it's awesome. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please drop a like for me, drop a subscribe. There'll be more Final Fantasy XIV content coming. And of course, if you guys don't already know, you can find me at twitch.tv/gobrins or gobrins.com, GOBRINZ.com. So take it easy, have a good one, dudes. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Peace out.